So today I'm going to show you how to make some blood gel. It's one of the easiest things you can do to cover up a bad edge or to fill in a prosthetic with some thick, deep blood. It also gives the illusion of depth. It's easy to make and it doesn't cost very much. Let's get started. The materials you're going to use: a couple of cups, a little bit of blue food coloring, some red food coloring, an empty container, Caro syrup, and Caviezel, a respirator, some stir sticks. So what we're going to start with is your cup and your Caro syrup. You're going to pour a little bit of Caro syrup, depending on how much you need. For this container, we don't need a lot. And then next, you're going to mix your color. You're going to need some red and some blue. I'm going to put the red in first. And over time, you can decide what the exact amount of color you want is. But for this, we're just going to show you how to make it. So we got a pretty good looking red going, right? But you can see that it still needs a little more mixing and it's not super dark. So what do you do to make red darker? You add blue. And that's going to deepen it up and make it almost a purpley red. So that's still, for me, a little light. I'm going to add a few more drops of concentrated food color. Stir that up real good. Now that's looking halfway decent. Alright, so the blue is very potent when you're making a red blood, because if you add too much you're going to have purple. So you just want a few drops to darken it up, but not to change the tone too much. So let's do that. Okay, that was kind of a lot. Let's see what we got. And what's good about something dark like this is that it's opaque. Now real blood is opaque. So when it's translucent, it looks a little fake, but what's good about the Caviezel, when you thicken it up, it becomes a little more opaque as well. So let's get to the Caviezel and thicken this stuff up. So when we go to add the Caviezel, you want to be really careful not to breathe it in. It's a dangerous substance. From my understanding, it's made out of glass. Very, very, very fine, minuscule particles of glass. And so they don't dissolve, and when you breathe it in, it builds up in your lungs, stays there for the rest of your life, and you don't want that, especially with repeated use. We use this stuff all the time. So what you want to do is this is where the respirator comes in for the mixing.
Alright, so obviously Josh has got that respirator on, so you're not going to be able to hear him. Alright, what Josh is going to do here is he's going to take the Caviezel and he's going to mix it in our Caro syrup and food coloring mix. So here we go. And you never really know how thick you're going to need it. So you want to add small batches of Caviezel in your mix and stir that in thoroughly until you get your desired result. So as you can see, it finally settles into the mix and down into the bottom. It stays on the surface for just a moment. So you want to get it good and mixed in there. You want to scrape the sides just like we do with other polyurethane materials or any other material, two-part material that we use. As you can see, we're adding a little bit more in there. Okay, so we need to go a little bit thicker. So we're going to add more Caviezel. Okay, and it looks like we're almost there. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. It's looking like it's nice and thick. Oh yeah.
So we've reached our desired thickness. Now we wanted to show you what it looks like on different things, such as a cut off neck or a prosthetic bite wound. So let's do that. So we have this really cheesy head that's just laying around the shop. It's been used for many things, and the neck's not really painted in except around the edge. So you have your basic red color, and how you can use the blood gel is you can take this and smear it around and get it into all those bubbles and crevices to give it a little more depth and wet, gooey, fresh look. And if you wanted, you could even put it on the unpainted part to turn it red real quick. Right? And the other good thing about this stuff is it dries and it gets rigid. So until you put water on it, it's going to stay semi-rigid and shiny. And the other cool thing is that water takes it off. So another thing I like to use it for is, say this was a playing gag and we wanted to make it look like a ripped off neck. You can get some up on the skin. All jagged and rough like, right? But then I'll also put some on my fingers and just give it some redness. Or if it got really ripped off, it would be smeared and bloody. So you could smear it with your fingers if you want, just to get it on there.
And when this is shown up against camera, it looks really, really good. We're showing, this is a little bit darker, what you're seeing here, but we're getting some pretty good representation of, you guys kind of get the idea of what's happening here.
So we also have a little bite wound on the back of her head from a long time ago. I think it just got stuck on there for some reason. So you can see it's basically colored. There's some redness in there and some flesh color on the outside. So you could take your spatula or your stir stick and use it to get into the deeper parts and give your prosthetic some depth. See that? See how I did that? I did that. So it's going to gather up into all the crevices and stay in there and give it some shininess and some life. Now I like to use it around the whole edge so it looks like it's really deep on the edges. So that's looking pretty cool. Depending on the heat outside, it doesn't take long to dry. This will start to get rigid within the next 20 minutes. And until you put water on it, it's not going to come off. So it has many uses. You can put it in your nose for a bloody nose, in your ear for like swollen brain trauma, and you can use it like any application where you have an appliance, a slit throat, a slit wrist. You just gather it up in there and it looks really good. So Caviezel has many uses. It's basically a thickening agent. What we use it for more than blood gel is thickening up lots of different things like Prozaid so we can make Bondo, or we use it for fiberglass so we can make a gel coat or a detail coat. It has many uses. So this is one of our smaller tutorials, but it's a very important one because every makeup artist and effects person should have some blood gel in their kit. It's one of those things, it's kind of a joke around effects artists. If it looks bad, throw blood gel on it. There you go, it's covered. All you see is a bunch of blood. So it covers up even bad edges, and it comes in really handy. So stay tuned and we'll get you to the next one.
And action.
So I don't know where to start. Alright, so I'm frozen.